Of a designer. We're gonna be talking about what luxury brands understand. Just give me a second, you know. That's the thing. Yeah. Okay, I think my picture is still on. We out of here. I know it's up. Yeah, I'm gonna be out. Good thing I ain't clocked out yet. Bring everything else out here. Thank you, Daryl. No problem. Be safe. You too, man. All right, be safe, y'all. You too. Talk to y'all tomorrow. All right, y'all. All right, yeah, we out of that joint. Man, bro, I need y'all to fuck with it, nigga. This shit's starting to get hectic. This shit's starting to get hectic, but yo, we talking about luxury, what luxury brands understand tonight. You feel me? Primarily, the thing is that a lot of people don't understand is that big brands, luxury brands, you know what I'm saying? They know all the logistics, all the analytics, all the demographic information about you, what you think about, how you operate, and what your repetitive actions typically are, especially in the sense of buying and, you know, making purchases. So, you know what I'm saying? We're here to discuss that tonight. And make sure that you like, subscribe, share with your friends and family. Make sure you also go ahead and check out that From the Mud collection, which is available on all streaming platforms. Our clothes are available on our website, www.dreamsofruler.street.com. And you can catch the book on all book platforms, From the Mud, and also on our website too. So you already know. Let's get right into it. You know what I'm saying? Of course, you know how we like to do on the chat is primarily, you know, I like to ask a question before, you know, we get into everything pretty much, you know, giving y'all something to think about throughout the whole conversation. And the question is, why do some brands command respect for, you know, decades while others disappear after one trend or one collection? And the thing is, luxury brands don't just sell a product, you know, it's pretty much what we've established over the conversation, but also they understand the principles that guide every decision as far as, like, you know, purchases, as far as, you know, how people perceive different information, symbols, things of that sort. Also, how to market to you, you know, what you're willing to watch in a span of, you know, 5 seconds to a minute and longer. Like, this is all the things that business owners, elite business owners talk about, and even, you know, intermediate. I would say at least like a pro, you feel me? Entrepreneur. Beginners don't really know this type of information. and don't typically get this information from the beginning unless, you know, you have some understanding of the website that you're operating. You get some of these analytics on YouTube and, you know, the other, you know, social media platforms that you might use for like streaming, like Kick and Twitch as well too. But primarily the analytics that I'm talking about, you know, is centered around buying behaviors. And these luxury brands, these bigger corporations, they understand that in and out better than, you know, they design products. So they could sell you bullshit and know you gonna buy it. That's why, you know, a lot of things, you know, that are putting out in the world doesn't really necessarily have too much meaning or too much substance behind it, because a lot of these brands already know in order to get you to buy something, all they gotta do is just, you know, do a couple of dances, put it on a couple of people, give it to a couple of people, and boom, y'all about it. So, you know, let's get into some of these principles that, you know, luxury brands typically, you know, have. They, you know, sell meaning, not merchandise, first and foremost. You know, people don't only buy a product, they buy what it represents. The strongest brands have a clear identity and point of view of not only of who they are, but a clear perspective of what's going on out in the world, to where they can actually, you know, manipulate it to where it works for them. You know what I'm saying? You know, the main questions that you really want to ask yourself is, you know, what does my brand stand for? You know what I'm saying? For example, Dreams of Rulers, we primarily stand for, like I said, visualizing your purpose, living like royalty, the dreams of a ruler. You know what I'm saying? The thought process, the mindset of a ruler. That's what our principles stand by. So, you know what I'm saying? Simple etiquette, like, you know, opening the door for a woman, or, you know what I'm saying? Taking care of yourself, making sure your people are taken care of, making sure that, you know, you better and learn new things each day. You feel me? You're growing constantly, spiritually, mentally, and you know, physically. You feel me? That's what, you know, Dreams of Ruler stands for. And that's where you got to actually start taking in to some of the things, the moral code, the principles that, you know, your brand actually stands for. What feelings should people, you know, associate with your brand, or with your pieces, or with the collections that you drop? You feel me? From the mud, it's supposed to be pain, because we come from pain. You feel me? It's supposed to be, you know, pressure, because that's all everybody is trying to put on me is pressure. Then on top of that, we're supposed to take the pain and the pressure and show how, you know, combining the two emotions together and thriving off them can drive success. And that's honestly all I've ever done these past 8 years as far as with building a brand. And then, you know, the past 15, 17 years for myself. That's primarily what a young bull just been doing. Just, you know what I'm saying, taking the pain, the pressure that everybody keep trying to put on a nigga, and keep, you know, fighting the world for what I believe in, for the morals that I was raised on, you know what I'm saying, and just trying to show people what it's really about to be a true ruler out here in these streets, you feel me? Just trying to show people you gotta be better than what you putting out. And a lot of people ain't putting out shit, because a lot of niggas ain't about shit, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, every collection should reinforce the brand identity, You got to play the long game with people. Ultimately, luxury brands, think of years in advance. You feel me? They don't just think in this month, I'm about to release this joint. Then, the first of the month, I'm only thinking about the first of the month. Nah, big brands, they already got their schedule laid out for the year. You feel me? So somebody random comes up and be like, oh, we want to interview your brand. They were like, well, what dates were you thinking of? Because we're booked up for the whole year, so we kind of got to fit this joint in somewhere. And if not, we got to do it next year or the next year. And that's how, you got to be. You can't be, on time or, late with your brand. You got to be well ahead with the moves that you're making and, also just your day-to-day operations. Got to be ahead because you can't be planning for just weeks ahead because anything can happen in a week, anything can happen in a month. And, opportunities are few and far between. So, every campaign and collection and customer experience contributes to a long-term reputation. Patience is a competitive advantage. Are you building for today's attention or tomorrow's legacy? And I feel like a lot of y'all be building for today's attention. Like, you gotta build for long-term success. It's a marathon, not a sprint, bro. Nip said it best. It's a marathon, not a sprint. You know what I'm saying? Gotta grind every day. Can't take no days off. Can't, take no breaks for real. Like, I'll just work 7.5 straight hours. No break. Like, that's what you gotta be on. Like, only time I really take a break throughout my day is when I go to smoke a J. You know what I'm saying? After I done put in some work with my brand. Like, I don't even get up in the morning anymore without putting some work on with my brand. You know what I'm saying? Then I go smoke. And I'm the type of person that smoke 15 blunts a day, so that kind of lets you know dedication, competitiveness I have inside, and, how much I really want to win. You feel me? I look at this joint as like a basketball game and get a championship game every day. You know what I'm saying? Or, right now it's just a regular season for a nigga, but each day, you feel me, there's an opportunity to get better, opportunity to put up historic numbers, and an opportunity to leave something that's gonna last, you feel me? And that's what we all gotta do, leave something that's gonna last. Luxury, isn't about being perfect. It's about being intentional. Big brands only protect, their standards. They don't sit there and try to, sugarcoat shit, be, halfway 1 week about something and then on the other side of shit the next week. Nah, man. Those big brands, they stay 10 toes down in what they believe in. Regardless if it's right or wrong, they 10 toes down in it. And every message, every collection is only an extension of their, what they stand for, what they mean, what they're saying, and, how they're moving. Doesn't mean, like I said, it's gotta be right or wrong, but they stand on that. And once you stand on what you believe in, once you show people that, hey man, I'm unfazed with this is what we about, it's how we do things. People that, you know what I'm saying, do the same things the same way, or at least similar, go and tap in. It's just something that can't be denied, you know. Standards apply to, you know, mainly your personal DNA once you're starting off the brand, because everything starts with you. The next thing, you know, is product quality, design consistency, photography and presentation, packaging, customer service, communication, you know what I'm saying? Reputation is built through the details, the small details that, you know, people notice and the ones they don't. You feel me? Your standards become your brand. Like I said in the beginning of that quote, you know what I'm saying? Those small details, they help you to protect your brand and your standards. They also highlight what you're weak at and, you know what I'm saying, what you need to work on. So that's why, number one, it's good to work on your craft each and every day in some aspect or way, so that way you get constantly better. Number two, you always got to be prepared for your first impression with an opportunity. You never know when it's going to be. You never know when it is. And if you don't live life that way, you ain't going to have that many opportunities. I can tell you that right now. So if you're wondering about that, it's because you're not prepared for an opportunity. You're not waking up thinking about, oh yeah, I'm going to have an opportunity today. Even if you don't got no opportunities today, you automatically know in your mind there's an opportunity coming. It's waiting for you. You just got to go get it. Does every, you know, touch point that we talked about feel like it comes from the same brand when, you know, you consider it for yourself? Because, you know, luxury brands, they create complete experiences. Even, you know, just big brands in general. It doesn't even have to be about fashion. You know what I'm saying? Think about every interaction. Even if you've had an interaction with a big brand, think about the interaction that you had. You got, you know, first and foremost, thank you emails once you made a purchase. Then on top of that, probably within the purchase, depending on the website, they probably done gave you like 10% off on your next purchase, 15% off, or some type of discount on your next purchase or future purchases. Then on top of that, they might, you know, throw in an extra piece of garment, or if you spend, you know, decent money with the brand, they probably going, you know, give you a nice gifted box. You know what I'm saying? Wrap the item very, you know, extraordinary, you know, with ribbons, bedazzles, things of that sort. So that way you feel like you royalty, like you're special, like you're one-on-one. And with those interactions, you know what I'm saying, even with, you know, say your website or, you know, the content that you put out, your live streams, your packaging, your storytelling. A luxury brand feels cohesive with all those things. You feel me? A big brand, a brand that knows themselves are, you know what I'm saying, they feel cohesive. They're not fragmented. They're not all over the place. They're not, you know, good in a couple of areas and then the rest of the areas they suck. Nah. And even if that's the case, every day they working to get better those areas that they're weak in. And then the areas that they're strong, they're consistently maintaining and getting better. You feel me? You know, they all know who they're not. One of the hardest lessons in building is saying no, whether that be in life, business, or in general. It's hard to say no. A lot of people don't know how to say no. That's why they broke. That's why, you know what I'm saying, they don't have the things that they need. Then on top of that, their environment is conducive to that where, it makes it even worse because a lot of y'all loved ones ain't shit anyway. Believe me, I know. Got the same problem at home. So yeah, one of the hardest lessons in branding and brand building is saying no. Not every trend fits your vision. Not every customer is your customer, and not every opportunity is worth taking. But a focused brand often earns more trust than one trying. And, it's not important to appeal to everybody, but it's important to, try to appeal to somebody. And the main questions that, I want everybody to take away from this drawing is, what's one luxury brand you admire and why? You feel me? I've always admired Louis Vuitton because mainly they stuck to their guns as far as, designing custom bags and fine, travel equipment. But they've always, tapped into, the culture, always, design nice luxury wear pieces and also streetwear pieces as well too for, high fashion. So I've always liked, the lineage of it as well too. It's always stuck to its guns and never really try to go outside of itself. But they definitely, work hard in each element of fashion, whether it be accessories or, apparel. I fuck with that heavy. Like, they just stick to what they good at. They're not trying to be, further than that. Luxury brands, understand that reputation is earned one decision at a time. You feel me? What standards, will you never compromise on in your work? You got to stop chasing attention. People build through trust. You feel what I'm saying? Brands build through trust. They don't just ask, will this sell? They ask, will this strengthen who we are? Will this help somebody solve their problems? You feel what I'm saying? That's the thing. And as you're building a product, are you, actually just building a product, or are you building reputation for your brand? That's the mindset. That turns, a brand into a legacy, into, an iconic brand. Those are the things. Those are the principles. And when you start to build solid systems in your company, when you start to have a solid environment in your workplace, when you have a consistent routine of doing things on a day-to-day basis, and when you plan years and years ahead instead of weeks, your brand will flourish. Believe me. When you're trying to do everything next week, next Saturday, 2 months from now, that shit don't work, bro. Believe me, I'm the king of trying to do it, within 2 months, bro. It doesn't work. It doesn't prosper the way it should. You start, planning shit out, 6 months, a year ahead of time, then you got an opportunity for, not only for the opportunity, the event to work, or, the release to work, but for, the overall brand to see success from those opportunities. So like I always say, put a solid plan together, do your research, execute that motherfucker, and your dreams and goals will come to fruition. Keep visualizing. I'm out.